Take a look at the dollar in your pocket. Not just a quick glance, but really look at it. The paper feels firm, official, almost permanent, as if it has always existed and always will. For most of us, the dollar feels less like an invention and more like a fact of nature. It feels solid, official, permanent, like something backed by absolute certainty. We grow up trusting it without question, using it every day, saving it, chasing it. But that sense of permanence is an illusion. Because here's the uncomfortable truth most people never stop to ask. Money doesn't just appear. Someone creates it. And the reasons behind its creation matter more than we're taught to believe. So, the real question is this: who actually created the American dollar? And why? Not the simplified answer from textbooks. Not the patriotic version polished over centuries. The real story is far messier. It involves war, desperation, political betrayal, secret negotiations, and foreign financial influence. It begins with a young nation standing on the edge of collapse, desperate for survival. Because the US dollar wasn't born out of confidence, it wasn't created from abundance or stability. It was born out of panic, pure and simple. And panic leaves fingerprints that last for centuries. Before the United States had a dollar, it had a serious problem. Actually, it had many problems. There was no shared currency, no unified system, and no financial trust holding the colonies together. People paid with whatever they could: British pounds, Spanish silver coins, foreign notes, sometimes even crops, livestock, or raw materials. Money was confusing, inconsistent, and deeply unstable. When the Revolutionary War began, everything collapsed at once. The colonies needed to fund an army, but had no gold, no silver, and no power to tax. So they made a desperate decision. They printed money, paper currency backed by no gold, no silver, and no real enforcement. These bills were called Continentals, and they were backed by nothing but hope. At first, it seemed to work. The paper flowed, soldiers were paid, and the war continued. But without real backing, confidence evaporated quickly. Soon, prices exploded, and the money became nearly worthless. The phrase, "not worth a continental," became common speech. It meant something completely worthless. America had won its independence, but financially, it was ruined. And that raised a terrifying question for the new nation. How does a country survive if no one trusts its money? How do you unite states that barely trust each other? For one man, the answer was clear, even if it was unpopular. Alexander Hamilton believed survival required strong central money. He believed debt, if controlled, could become a weapon of unity. And without financial structure, the Republic would tear itself apart. Hamilton pushed the federal government to assume all state war debts. It wasn't charity, it was strategy. By tying states together financially, separation would become impossible. In 1792, Congress passed the Coinage Act. For the first time, the United States had an official dollar. But this dollar wasn't paper, it was metal. The dollar was defined by weight, by silver. It mirrored the Spanish silver dollar trusted across global trade. You didn't need faith in government. You trusted the metal itself. For a while, it worked. Trust returned. But war has a habit of breaking even the strongest systems. Again and again, wars forced the government to print more money. Paper returned because metal was limited. Each time, inflation followed close behind. By the late 1800s, America committed to the gold standard. Dollars could be exchanged for gold. Trust returned, but flexibility disappeared. When the Great Depression hit, the system cracked. Banks collapsed. Confidence vanished overnight. In 1933, Americans were ordered to surrender their gold. Owning it became illegal. Power quietly shifted from citizens to the state. After World War II, the world was broke. America wasn't. And that imbalance reshaped global finance forever. At Bretton Woods, the dollar became the world's anchor. Other currencies tied themselves to it, and gold sat quietly behind the curtain. For decades, the system held until the math stopped working. There simply wasn't enough gold. In 1971, the final link to gold was cut. The dollar became pure fiat currency, backed only by trust and power. So the American dollar was never meant to be permanent. It was meant to survive emergencies, and it adapted again and again. The dollar isn't just money. It's a living piece of history, still evolving. And understanding it helps you understand the world you live in today.